In a 3-4 defense, you have 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. Typically, in a 3-4 defense, you will have 3 normal linebackers and a nickel or a bandit or just kind of a hybrid safety or a bigger guy that can walk up on the line of scrimmage in some situations, but most likely is typically a bigger safety that is not as good in coverage and can play in the box and is a good tackler. In the 3-4 defense, again, you have 3 down linemen, an end, a nose, and an end. The ends can be either in a 4-eye or a head-up technique on the tackles, which is a 4 technique. Depending on the defense and the defensive coordinator, they can be in 4 eyes, and the nose will always be head up on the center. The ends in a 3-4 defense job, as I have seen drawn up here in just a base 2x2 spread set, job will be to 2-gap, which means they are responsible for either their C-gap or their B-gap, depending on the run flow. On the weak side here, if flow were to go away from this end, he is to 2-gap, which means he has to get hands on the tackle and cover this B-gap. This will cover this C-gap. This mic will cover that A-gap, and the nose and on down will also cover down. Run flow to the strong end, or the weak end, he will 2-gap and get this C-gap. And the nose, the same thing applies. If run is to his left, he will 2-gap and go to this A-gap. If it is to his right, he will 2-gap and go to the A-gap on his right. And the end on the weak side is also the same rules apply. If run is to him, he will get this C-gap so he can contain the run and spill it back inside. If run is away, he will get this B-gap, and the linebackers will cover the gaps from there. Again, the mic is an important figure in the 3-4 defense. Starting with the wheelbacker's responsibility. Again, if run is away, he will have this C-gap. If run is to, he will have the C-gap as well. That way he can spill it back inside of the defense. The mic, if run is away from him, when the nose goes to this A-gap, he will cover this A-gap because the end will be in this B-gap, and the wheel will take that C-gap. If run is to him, the nose will take this A-gap, the end takes this B-gap, and the wheel will take that C-gap, so the mic will be ready for the bounce, or he will cover on the outside and spill it or make it bounce to the corners. And safeties and extra run support. Same rules apply for this Sam as they do for the wheel. Run 2, he will have the C-gap to contain it or to bounce it to the corner or the nickel. If run is away, he will still have that C-gap. In the 3-4 defense, there can be a variety of coverages, just like the 4-3. You can have a base cover 4, cover 3, mans. It all just depends on what pressure is being run. If there's zone blitz, personnel, formation sets, whatever it may be. But typically, this defense can be very multiple in coverages.